Yo, what it do? Shit, make sure y'all can hear me first. Alright, we good, we good. If you can hear me, you can hear me. See me, let me know. Put a thumbs up in the chat. What's good, what's good? Welcome, my nation family. Yo, it's that time of year. OTAs. You know what that means, right? Organized team activities. Sorry, there's a fly flying around me, and I'm a little pumped up. So, it's that time of year where we find out. Well, not find out everything, but some questions are answered, right? We find out a little bit about the draft picks. We find out a little bit. Why is this not working? Weird. We find out a little bit about the offensive line, free agents, guys that were signed to huge contracts, right? A little bit of questions answered. Then we get into the preseason. We're getting a little bit more questions answered, right? Who's going to be starting? Who's going to be captains? Who's going to make the squad? Who's not going to make the squad? And then we get into the infamous time of year where it's football time, right? Football time. First opponents, New England. So if you're looking for OTA footage, well, man, I got news for you. There is no OTA footage because there is no media allowed today in OTAs. So we have no idea what's going on. The media has no idea what's going on. So if you're wondering why there's been no footage, that is why. They are allowed back in the building. I do not know when. I think they're off tomorrow, and then they are allowed back in the building, I think, from there on out. But they are not allowed back in the building. So let's get into everybody in the building. What's good? What's good? Appreciate you. Ray Love, what's good? What it do? Unleashing Addiction. Marcus Banks, appreciate you pulling up. Raider Menace, what's good? What's good? As always, Nation family, appreciate all the green trees in the building. Showing love, showing love. So, OTAs start. We have a host of games, right? The Raiders have a series of 10 days. May 19th, which was today. They are off tomorrow. They are again on May 21st, May 22nd. Then they are off for a couple days. They are back May 29th, May 30th, June 2nd, June 3rd, June 4th, and then June 5th. And that is the OTA schedule. And then we are into June cut dates, right? June 1st. Who gets cut? Who stays? Who makes the roster? But we got a lot to talk about, right? We got a lot to talk about. 5 biggest things that could defy the Raiders season. We will definitely get into that probably in about an hour or so. I wouldn't say at the end of the show because you never know when the end of this show is. So, yeah, put on a timer, somebody. Let me know about 10 o'clock. We will break it down. The 5 biggest things that could defy this season. And I mean, most of them should be pretty obvious. As you can see above me, my crazy, landish, rebel style season predictions. And I said, after I made it, the hell with it, the hell with it. Let's just stick with it. No more. This is it. Last one. So, if anybody wants to ask what's my predictions for the season from here on out, they are above. And I know it's wild and crazy, but I gave my reasons. And I think this team is just heading in the right direction. It's not always the players, but it's the accountability, the standard that they're held to. And we've already seen from minicamp the standard that these guys are going to be held to. We see the standard that Pete Carroll is already holding the media to. If you're sitting on your ass, you're out. You're not allowed back. So if you're media and you're coming to the building to record, I mean, if you're laying down taking pictures, that might be a different question. I don't know. I wouldn't take the chance without permission, right? I'd go ask somebody. So there's a high standard being held. And I know it's wild. That's why we do this, right? Everybody else has their predictions. I'm going to go out on a limb. I know the 7, 8, 9 predictions. But like I said, I really feel like this division is pretty much all 4 teams are going to win 8 games or more. And it's very well possible. They can split, you know, all 4 teams could split the series and still end up winning 10 games, right? It's not doable. I believe this is one of the strongest divisions in football. It used to be one of the strongest divisions in football. It's been a long time since it's been the strongest division in football. But there was times where, you know, we were like the NFC North, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, all those teams that were making the playoffs. That's probably not even the right division. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I know it's crazy, but that's me. I'm sticking to it. I made the predictions. I know a lot of things can change. Like I said, if healthy, that's the biggest key. But I believe a lot of these guys on this roster are going to surprise some people. I think there's some UDFAs that are really going to surprise some people. And I really feel like there's some rookies that are going to surprise some people that are going to, you know, be productive a lot sooner than people think. And if that happens, this team could be very scary. We have, I'm not going to say an easy schedule because nothing's easy in the NFL, but we have a very favorable schedule before the bye. It gets a little harder after that. But again, injuries happen not only to the Raiders, but to the rest of the teams in the NFL. My real prediction will be on week 1 before the season starts. I hear you. You know, a lot of people say the same thing. They're giving their prediction and then their prediction. But I figured, what the hell, man? You know, I broke it down. I looked at all the shit. I just feel it's a different time. It's going to be a different standard. Our defense, there's a couple questions. And like I said, we'll get into that at the top of the hour. We'll break it down. The 5 things that need to happen for my prediction to even be close to having legs. And 2, the main thing is for this team to have a shot to compete in the division. And if that happens, they have a shot to make the playoffs. If you compete in the division, you definitely have a chance to make a wild card. Or, you know, like I said, anything can happen in the NFL. Kansas City can't stay on top forever. There has to be a time where, you know, shit starts to go awry. You lose people, you lose coaches. They've been getting away with it, right? They lose players. Players get arrested, players get hurt out for the season. They keep making up for it. There's got to be a time where that shit changes, right? It just can't keep going on forever. I feel like we had the best draft out of the AFC West, and it's not even close. Like, I feel a lot of these guys, you know, even in the 6th round, whether it's special teams, whether it's, you know, they're the fourth guy, you know, whether they're 6th, 7th guy on the depth chart on the defensive line or offensive line, you know, our corners, you still probably get some play time. And if you can produce in the offseason and OTAs and, you know, make a showing, show signs of flashing, I think there's a lot of guys that still are on this team that jobs are in jeopardy. And if those guys' jobs are in jeopardy, man, I really want to kill this fly. That means the guys that we brought in UDFAs and the guys we drafted, you know, are outperforming these guys that have been around for a while. And there's a couple guys, you know, they've been cleaning house. They've got rid of defensive linemen to make room for UDFAs. You know, we have a big question in Christian Wilkins. He had the boot on, he's had the boot off. It's up and down. So I don't know. Let me know how you guys feel. But what I do know is there is a lot of questions about a lot of teams. And last year, you know, we had the Chiefs 15-2. We had the Lions, whatever they were, you know, 14-3. A lot of teams didn't lose a lot of games. I feel that's not the case this year. The Lions lost not only their offensive coordinator, they lost their defensive coordinator. Can the Detroit Lions really be the same team with a brand new defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator? Are they running the same Ben Johnson scheme? Are they running a whole different scheme? Are they changing the offensive line? Whatever, do they run zone? Do they run wide zone? Power, whatever it is they're running. Do they change that up? Is the offensive coordinator, changing shit drastically? There's a lot of question marks for a lot of teams still. Some teams, got some flashy, high end, big time, receivers. Do they gel well in the locker room? Is it a problem that they don't get the ball? A lot of these teams have questions. Some of the teams, I think, didn't do what they needed to do in free agency or in the offseason. They just put band-aids on shit. I don't feel like we did that. I don't feel like we put band-aids on a lot of positions. And if there's kids in this draft like Lindenberg that come out and show he's the alpha male on this offensive line and start from day one, that's a huge win, not only for this team but for the draft last year. Greg Lira, what's good? Having a guy draft in the 7th round come out and end up starting or getting a lot more reps than thought. But really, if you look at the speed on this defense, and I went over and tried to look at everybody's 40 times from the draft. It's hard to look at a guy's 40 time that's 32 years old, and a Landon Roberts that's been in the league for a while. Devin White, the same thing. It's kind of hard to project these guys' speed. But this Lindenberg kid, man, the more I watch film on this kid, he can cover. He's fast. He knows how to run a defense. He can play Mike linebacker. Like, that's his spot. He knows how to get skinny, through the gaps to get to the quarterback, to get to the running back, to stop run plays. This kid is scary, bro. I'm telling you. Like, he can really be that dude. And the more I hear see reports on him or listen to his coaches talk about him and interviews that in the past or whatever, bro, this kid is very intelligent. He knows football. It seems like that's all that matters, really, is football. Like, and when you have dudes like that on your team, man, I'm telling you, especially when you're drafted in the 6th round or 7th round, if you get guys like that are competing for a starting role, right off the rip, that makes everybody in that linebacker room better. Now, I know we have questions of, who's going to be those 7 guys behind our front, our front 4. Who's going to be the front 4? There's even questions about that. We have questions about Christian Wilkins. There's a lot of questions to be answered. Still, I feel like these questions have been answered with the depth that we have. Now, you can only keep 53 guys. I know that's a big problem from the 93 we have right now. I do believe it is in the building. What do we got in here? I feel like the Raiders need to keep Zamir White as a change of a big back to Genty. I believe that too. I've said before, Zamir White needs to be a fullback, and I had people laugh at me. Actually, I'll pull him up here later on here in a bit. Remind me, Zamir White stats. Somebody remind me, because I don't have it pulled up. It's going to take me a second. I'll have to do it while I'm talking. But Zamir White, his highest rating since he's been in the league has been pass blocking and run blocking. And run blocking, whether it's, quarterback runs, which some were called for Garner last year, whether it's reverses, whatever it is, when he's in the backfield, at blocking in the backfield, it was like a 72.4 rating. So the kid can block. He could definitely block. That's one of his best, attributes as far as PFF's concerned. That's his highest graded on anything, and it was last year. It was the year before. So if anything, the kid can block. Why not put him at fullback? I said it before, it'd be nasty having a kid, or I guess grown man. I say kid because I'm old. You know, having him in the backfield, he can catch out of the backfield, he can block, he can open up holes, he can lead the way for Genty. I know we have JJ Pegues. I think that's more of a goal line situation, 3rd and 1 type situations. But I don't see him blocking too much. I see him probably getting the ball more times than not, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, I still think he makes this squad. Pete Carroll believes in redemption. Pete Carroll believes, you know, as he said over and over and over and over again, putting guys in the right positions to show their worth. And I don't think Zamir White was put in the right position to show his worth last year. For all the criticisms Zamir White took last year, he only has 66 snaps. Most running backs in the NFL, starting running backs, are in the 240s, 250s, 260s, 270s. Backups are, somewhere in the 340s. He was injured most of the year. He only got 66 carries. So I think he gets a lot of criticism. And like I said, if anybody can fix somebody, it's Chip Kelly. It's the squad that they've brought in and this coaching staff. And it's Pete Carroll. It's Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll believes in guys. He makes guys believe in themselves. He gets the best out of everybody he's coached. I mean, that's just facts. It's not a question mark. Just look at the teams, the guys he's coached, the guys that he's given chances to on other teams like Seattle, bringing in guys that were free agents, that were UDFAs, turning them into Pro Bowl caliber players. Some of them Pro Bowl players. So Pete Carroll is the X factor, and I think people are looking at his age and saying, "All right, man, this dude's 74 years old." But you're sleeping on his knowledge. Now, I started talking about it the last live I did Friday, and I think I got sidetracked, forgot I was talking about, and I probably will again. But Pete Carroll said in the interview in the Seattle interview that when he took his time off for a year, all he did was watch football. He watched high school football, he watched college football, he watched the NFL, he watched a lot of Seattle games, and he said he talked to a bunch of people. He talked to his coaching staff before he hired him and told them what he had seen. And he said he's seen a lot of the same stuff over and over and over again, where guys running plays that other teams knew were coming that they couldn't stop. No matter what they did, they knew it was coming and they couldn't stop it. And then on the defense, same thing. There was defenses running shit that offenses weren't scoring on, right? So he took all that in perspective, stepped back for a year, watched everything. He's been in the NFL for a long time. He's been a coach for a long, long time. Not too many years off for Pete Carroll. So taking a step back, teaching his course, doing all that shit, like he said, really opened his eyes about a lot of things in football. Some things that he thinks he can exploit. Some things that he thinks he can do better that other teams will not be able to handle or will be able to stop. So if that happens, man, this team is nasty. I'm telling you, it's going to be scary. So what do y'all think? What's good? What's good? It's 10. The whole fullback positions need to make a comeback, in my opinion. It's one of the most underrated positions on the field. I mean, if you go back and look at throughout history, the dominant fullbacks were on playoff teams. They were on Super Bowl winning teams. If you think of the greatest fullbacks in history, their teams were winning teams. too many Hall of Fame fullbacks are, fullbacks in the top 100 that teams didn't dominate the whole time they were on that team for a reason. They did the grunt work. They blocked the linebackers blitzing that made it through the gaps. They blocked the defensive ends that made it around the tackles. They did the dirty work. They blocked those guys way bigger than them. They took on nose tackles and defensive ends and linebackers and corners, safeties to clear holes for their running backs. These guys, I don't know why people, teams went away from it and it became a passing league. I get it. But even in a passing league, why have a running back out there? If you could have a fullback that could catch, that could block, to me, I'm putting the fullback out there, all day long. If my fullback is bigger, stronger, can catch, pretty close to the same, if I'm running play actions where he's got to stay in and block or, constantly running spread shit or deep passes where you need an extra blocker, why not have a fullback on the team? It just makes no sense to me. The Raiders use the fullback more than anybody, right? Marcel Reese, Zach Crockett, Richie, fucking who else? The list goes on and on and on. The Raiders need to bring back a fullback. And I wouldn't be surprised in Chip Kelly's offense, if they bring back a fullback. Very, very soon. My mouth is dry as hell. All right, so things you got to know. I know you've seen the tag. You've seen the thumbnail. You've seen the crazy-ass record prediction. Like I said, I'm going to stand on this shit all day. Things you must know. The 5 biggest things that could defy the Raiders season. Coming up here in a bit. Piano Man, what it do? Geno Smith, record against teams we play this year. Now, this is something we all need to know, right? As Raider fans, you definitely want to know where your quarterback stands in previous years against teams that we faced this year, right? Did he dominate? Was he bad? Did he have a lot of turnovers? Did he play him last year? Did he play him the year before? Is it the same coach? We need to know all that shit. Definitely something you want to know. Well, I find this kind of surprising, and then I kind of find it not very surprising. So I'm kind of in between. Geno, he's only been a starter 3 years in Seattle, maybe 4, maybe it's 4. I'm not positive. He's been in the league, whatever, 9, 10, 11, 12, however many, way too many years to not have played all the teams, right? To have not played all the teams we faced this year. Well, he's only played 6 teams that we faced this year. Like I said, in a 3 short year, being in a different division, I could see some of it. But as long as he's been in the NFL, Piano Man, I find it crazy. As long as he's been in the NFL, that Geno has only played 6 of the teams that we play out of the 17 games this year. And here they are. The Tennessee Titans. Geno's record against the Tennessee Titans is 2-3. The Cleveland Browns. Geno Smith's record against the against the Cleveland Browns is 3-0. Not bad, not bad. I'll take that. Cleveland Browns have always had a nasty defense. They've always had Myles Garrett, I'm sure, as long as Geno's been in the league. So that gives me a little bit of a confidence boost, right? The Chicago Bears. He's 1-1. He's faced them twice. The San Diego Chargers, he's 1-1. He's faced them twice. The Denver Broncos. This is something y'all gonna love. Against the Denver Broncos, Geno Smith lifetime is 3-1. I believe 2 of those games are against Sean Payton. Against the Jacksonville Jaguars, he is 1-1. Against the New York Giants, he is 2-1. So take that for what you will. But Geno has a winning record, or a tied record, against every team we face this year, except for the Tennessee Titans, who he's 2-3 against. Now the Tennessee Titans play outdoors. I think all these teams play outdoors. The Chicago Bears don't. Giants. So yeah, take that as it may. What's this dude got to say? Why was Genty dropping all those sticks while playing the catching game? What are you talking about? He had to catch him with one hand. Dude had confidence even with 2 hands. I don't know what you're saying. Greg Lira says convert Zamir White to a fullback. I mean, I think that would be his best option. That would be his best option to make this squad. That would definitely be his best option to contribute. You know, you could run I formation with him and Genty. I think that would be scary. You could hand off to him, you know, once in a while. Try to build his confidence back. You know, once he gets confidence blocking again, I think it would be a good thing for Zamir White. With the speed he has, you know, there's so many things you can do in the offense with him. You know, you just have him chip a guy. You know, if a guy gets through on the blitz, that's cool. If not, shit, he goes out for a pass. You know, you could have him chip guys and go out. You know, fake handoffs, handoff to Genty. There's just so many ways you can use him as a fullback, and so many options that you can do in the playbook. Having a fullback, having 2 tight ends like Mayer, like Brock Bowers. I think it would be, you know, something the Raiders should look into, in my opinion. 12-5. The Raiders 2025. Nah. That's us, bro. Let's be real. Maybe next year y'all need to rebuild. Y'all need to rebuild and build your men up around your weapons. That's the thing. I think we did that. And Pete Carroll has already said we're hitting the ground running. We're coming in here to win. He's not coming in here to play around. That's why we got the guys that we got. That's why we got the draft picks that we got. We got speed. We have toughness. We have guys that can tackle. Guys that are going to wrap up. Guys that on paper and on film are not known for giving up, you know, big, huge plays. Now, some of them, yes. Some of them might be a little bit injury prone and have injury problems. But it's going to be a competition. And what Pete Carroll knows, like I said, the blueprint to making it to the playoffs, the man seems to have, right? He's been to a Super Bowl twice. He's won 2 championships in college. The man knows how to win. He knows how to get the best out of guys. He's not always had the greatest squad. Again, took Russell Wilson, a 3rd round pick. Went to the Super Bowl a couple years later. Who started right away. This guy knows how to draft. He knows how to develop guys. They're already talking about bringing in Lackey Tassi as an offensive lineman. That dude is like 6'8", 240. If they can develop this man into a guard, oh my goodness, or a tackle, damn. You know, seeing some of his footwork out there, he's a big man. But if you can develop guys like that into weapons, which Pete Carroll has been known to do, but we still have questions. I'm not going to sit here and say, look, this Raiders team is going to win 12 games and we're going to the playoffs. I'm saying that's my predictions if everything goes right. And there's a lot that has to go right. I'm not just saying, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk. But I believe we are going to surprise some of these teams. Actually, we're going to surprise a lot of teams because they only have us winning 6 games. So we're going to surprise a lot of teams. I do believe. But we're going to surprise some of these teams that they have us, no shot against. The Commanders, you never know. The Cowboys, you never know. The Eagles, we don't know, right? We don't know if the Raiders are going to come in hot, if they're going to be on win streaks. By the time we get to the Eagles, we could have the greatest show on turf. We do not know these things. But I do know we have the potential. We have the weapons. We have the coaching staff. We have the quarterback. We have the running backs. Our offensive line, we'll get into that here in a bit. But we have the potential, man. We have the potential. And yes, it could be next year. It could be the year after. And 12 wins does seem absolutely crazy. I don't know how I ended up with 12 wins, but we broke it down. If you missed the video, go back and watch it. And maybe you'll change your mind and be like, damn, I had him at 8. I might have him at 10. Because I had him at 10 and I ended up with 12. That's just the way it worked. I was like, damn, the Raiders could really, really win this game. If you look at the schedule, if you look at the teams I predicted us to beat, the teams I predicted us to lose to, it could go either way. But most of those teams that I predicted us to lose to were 2 in the division. The Eagles, the Commanders, and the Cowgirls, I think. If you look at the games other than that, who do we got? The Patriots? The Jaguars? Look. The Raiders play 5 teams that picked in front of us. 5 teams. 5 teams that picked in front of us. We were 6th. We play everybody that picked in front of us. All those teams were way worse than us. All those teams had a worse roster than us on paper. All those teams were predicted to do worse than us last year. We had a first-year head coach. We had a, offensive coordinator that some people thought was going to do better than he did. I'm not I'm not saying any names. We had 6 injuries on the starters on defense. We had a lot of problems. These teams were bad because they were just bad. Now I know the Jags, Trevor Lawrence got hurt. I know the Giants never had a quarterback. The Patriots, we're drafting a quarterback. They're going through coaching staff, all that shit. But these teams were bad because they had been bad. They've been bad for a long time. We have superstars. They don't have Max Crosby's on their team. Like I said, they don't have, a lot of these teams don't have a tackle that's been with the team for 10, 12 years, 10 years, 8, 9 years, however, 7 years. All right, 7, 8 years. And Colton Miller. Jordan Meredith played his ass off last year. Our highest rated offensive lineman at an 80 and everything. Pass grade, run grade, run blocking grades, all his grades comes down 80 with Colton Miller, who was at 80. Those are 2 solid key offensive line pieces. JPJ, his rating was less because he was a rookie. He was learning the position. He was hurt most of camp. Right? He didn't have a lot of time to develop in the offseason like he does this year. A full offseason, a full healthy offseason. He's been killing it with Max Crosby. This man is going to be better than he was last year. That's 3 pieces to the offensive line. People are, already writing off not Thayer Mumford, Dylan Parham. Dylan Parham was our our 3rd best offensive lineman all year long. And the year before, he was our best offensive lineman, was graded at 80 2 years ago. This year, he had some injury problems, but he was still our 3rd best offensive lineman with the overall grade of a 76 with all the injuries. So I know people bitch about Dylan Parham. He's only 285 pounds. He was like an 82 run grade. Same with Meredith, a 80 run grade. People say we don't have a run offense or a power run offensive line that can run power run, that can open up holes for Genty, I disagree. The Raiders have that. Then we went and beefed up with Caleb Rogers. Now, if he can take one of these spots, that's even better. If somebody beats out Jordan Meredith, bro, they got their work cut out from him, because that dude was, not only was he the highest rated offensive lineman for the Raiders last year, he was the 5th highest graded offensive guard in all of football. You don't believe me? Go check it out. PFF. If you don't have PFF, let me know. I'll do a show tomorrow, because, it is this off season. Not too much to talk about, but, I'll pull up grades and we'll just go over offensive line grades. I'm not going to do that now, because I already have shit I got scheduled to talk about. Usually I don't really have a show lined up. I just kind of run off the hip, but tonight I got shit I want to go over, so we'll get into that. However, Dylan Parham was a pretty solid offensive lineman. Jordan Meredith, and then, like I said, you have Caleb Rogers coming in. We have guys that were drafted as tackles, like Caleb Rogers, like Charles Grant. We don't know if these guys are going to do better. There's been talk, is Alex Kappa going to start? I would say like a 0% chance. And this is my opinion. The man couldn't stay healthy the last 2 years. He's getting up there in age. He is nowhere near. And I'll put this on, I was going to say my mama, but I put it on yours. No, I'm just kidding. Well, really, almost that close. Like, Alex Kappa is no Dylan Parham, dude. Dylan Parham, yes, he's lighter, but he is way more athletic. When it comes to guards pulling, getting to that next level, Parham is just way more athletic. Probably not as physical because he's lighter. And he had injuries problems last year, but they weren't near as much as Kappa. He's not as old. He has way more upside. Then you look at Jordan Meredith. Kappa is not beating out Meredith. There is no way in hell Kappa beats out Meredith. I don't care if he makes $5 million a year. There's a reason they paid him $5 million, 1 year contract. It ain't shit. They can cut him. I'm sure they take a little bit of a cap hit, but it's not going to be much. They might keep him on the roster just for a veteran presence. But if these guys are way better than him, we have a lot of good offensive linemen that we drafted. We have a lot of good offensive linemen that we brought in UDFAs. A lot of UDFA offensive linemen that I believe some of them have a chance, to make some noise coming up in this OTAs, and we're going to find out. So guys like Kappa that are injured, that can't stay healthy, that came off 2 bad years, I don't know if he gets the chance to show he can turn it around. He's going to have have one of the best OTAs and the best preseasons of his life, I feel, for this man to even make the roster. Now that's saying a lot because he's a veteran, and I know it's Spytek's guy. But there's no reason, like years in the past, to have guys that are not better than the other guys that we're releasing, that we're putting on the practice squad, like we did with Andres Pete, like we did with Cody Whitehair. We don't have to do that no more. Previous years, keeping guys that are, I don't want to say past their prime, but getting up there, right? Getting up there where it's the last couple years of their career. They can't stay healthy. They're not as fast. They're not as athletic. Their first step is not as good. They're not as powerful. They probably just don't have the same heart as they used to when you played 10, 12 years banging on the offensive line. So some of these young guys want it more. They're more athletic. They're stronger. They're more physical. And they have something to prove, right? They have chips on their shoulders. They want to make a roster. This is their dream. These guys, some of them get comfortable. So I feel guys like Kappa, we don't have to keep those guys around like we have in years past. And like I said, let's be honest, we've kept guys around just because of their name, just because we brought them in, you know, because they were big names in free agency or whatever the stupid reason was. Because we thought they were veterans that were going to teach guys and learn guys, which I'm sure they do. Just because, you know, you don't have the athleticism, don't mean your knowledge can't be passed on to some of these younger guys, you know, to show them better techniques, you know, to show them some cheat codes, you know, some shit that they don't know in the NFL that you can get away with or use against guys, you know, learn how to be an anchor, right? Anchor your body, set your hips, get low, you know, technique that a lot of these old guys can have, you know, so they are good to have around. But if you're only keeping 9 offensive linemen, do you really want a guy that's just there teaching that if injuries happen, you have to put in and he's a weak link? I don't think they do. And I don't think guys like that are going to make this roster this year. So that leaves a lot of questions of a lot of, because like we went over the roster Friday, right? Friday or Thursday, what day was it? We went over the roster. There's 11 offensive linemen, interior offensive linemen. There's a lot of these dudes in camp that want jobs, that are big, physical, athletic, strong, powerful guys that already have good technique, that don't need a lot of coaching and teaching, you know, for their upside or for their development, for them to reach their ceiling. So with guys like that being in the building, the upside is very, very high for this team. Something else you need to know. Let's get into that. Things you must know. The Raiders are changing Aston Genty's stance. So I know you've seen the videos. I'm sure you've heard all the talk. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about the Raiders changing Aston Genty's stance? Do you think we're playing with fire? Should we let well enough be? Like I believe. If it doesn't work and he has problems off the rip, that's fine. On the other hand, I get, as a former running back, you know, nothing big, just high school, right? Junior high school. But as a guy who's played running back, you know, and been taught technique, even, you know, linemen would understand, receivers would understand, defensive linemen would understand. Getting low just helps you get, you know, helps your get off, right? It helps you get off. It helps your first step be more powerful. But if that's what he's done his whole career and that's what he's used to, and it helps him see over the defense like a lot of people say because he is a shorter guy, then why mess with it? So let me know in the comments, man. Let me know what y'all think. Do you think they should change Aston Genty's stance? Do you think they should just leave it where it is? How do you feel? How do you feel about it? Why do the Raiders act like why do the Raiders act like they win every year? We don't act like we win every year because we obviously don't. It's been a long time since we won every year. Last time we won 3 years in a row, or even had winning records 3 years in a row, right? Or it was only 2 years with Rich Gannon. I think the first year we were 8-8. So, it's been a long time, brother. Been a long time. So I don't know where you're coming off with that. Come on, can y'all just cheer for the Chargers going deep in the playoffs? The only time, and it's not cheering at all. But the only time I will ever hope Kansas City, the Broncos, or the Chargers win is never. Absolutely never. Just never. So there's that. Only part of the team that you guys got better at than us is the O-line. And the quarterback? Oh. Yeah, their O line is nasty. Their O line is nasty. And we don't know. We don't know about their quarterback. He was hurt last year in camp. He came out, did pretty well. He did pretty well. They don't use him, like I said. They don't let the man throw the ball or put it on his shoulders anymore. And I think that's a problem for him. I don't really think he likes that shit, but I could be wrong. Um, their O line is nasty. Their O line is nasty. We got dominated both games. We played the Chargers last year. I hate admitting that. Hopefully, this defensive line can step up and turn that shit around. Piano Man, what else you got? Our wide receiver core has gotten better. Yeah, they got Trey Harris, didn't they? He's got to stay healthy though. I ain't worried about that. Um, has gotten better. That's what Sunshine needed. Who the hell is Sunshine? I'm not reading the rest of your comments. Fuck you. The only thing that got better is your tight end. The only thing that got looser is your tight end. um, come on, man. What do you mean the only thing that got better is hold up. Like I usually don't pump brakes because if y'all don't know by now, I've always been all gas, no brakes. But for real, the only thing we got better at is tight end. Our quarterback was Garner flipping Minshew last year. We have Geno Smith. Now I know Geno's not the end all save all, but Geno has a chance to have his best year he has ever had. Geno has a chance to make the Pro Bowl. Geno has a chance to win his first playoff game. Geno has a chance on this offense with Pete Carroll in a Chip Kelly system that's going to be built for him to succeed and take the pressure off his shoulders like he's never had before. It's going to be scary for the NFL. It's going to be scary for your Chargers in week 2 when they get their ass stomped in Allegiant Stadium. It's going to be scary for them when we come to your house and probably stomp that ass again, which I predicted us to go 1-1 with the Chargers. But now I'm going to say we stomped that ass twice. No. But really, I'm telling you, this team, and we'll get into it. It's almost the top of the hour. So let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Tell me why. Not what I was trying to click on. All right, so let's get into this. Let's just get into this, break it down. That's not the right one either. Where'd it go? Time out. Oh, okay, I think that's it. Not it. Get biscuits. Hmm. All right, well. Let's just go with this one. I think that's it. So, the 5 biggest concerns we have heading into OTAs, heading into the season. Make sure no, but Big Luck was good. Appreciate you. Knees Duts, appreciate you. Make sure nobody else popped in. I have no idea where I was in this chat. You know, somewhere in here. All right, so The 5 biggest concerns that we have going in, not only into OTAs, but going into preseason, going into the season. 5 biggest concerns and why I believe we have most of these concerns. Questions should be answered by preseason, by the start of the season, and we should know where we stand, whose predictions, may have relevancy, whose are going to be laughing stocks, which it could very well be. But number one, the biggest question I believe for the Raiders defense is who's locking down the back 7, right? Who is going to be those guys? Now, the Raiders have a shit ton of defensive backs, right? We have a bunch of guys. We have a bunch of guys that compete in this backfield, but competition breeds greatness, right? We have Jeremy Chin, who most of us are expected to hold down that, strong safety spot. We also have Isaiah Palamau, who most of us believe is going to be the free safety. There has been talks from other channels about Trey Taylor being traded to the Baltimore Ravens. To me, I think it would be crazy to trade this kid in his second year. Like I talked about, he is a missile. He is a damn good tackler. He is great at causing turnovers, at, being around the ball. You don't draft guys like that and then just let them slip away without giving them any chance. And he got no chance last year. So chances of trading him, to my opinion, would be slim and none. Like I said, we only have 4 safeties on the roster right now. So taking, a guy like Trey Taylor that has no grass time and trading him away now would be a mistake, in my opinion. A huge, huge mistake. So, beyond that, Jeremy Chin and Pal Mao, there's another big concern, the linebacker room, right? We have a Landon Roberts, which is the front runner for the Mike linebacker spot. But he's got coverage issues. We know that, right? We know he's a run stopper. We know he's great at stopping the run. He's not great at covering the running back, or the linebacker, or the tight ends. Jeez Louise, I can't even speak. So we have that question. Then we have veteran Devin White. We also added Jalen Smith. We also have Amari Gaynor. We also have Tommy Eichenberg. We also have Cody Lindenberg, which I believe Cody Lindenberg takes this starting role very, very soon. Now, it might not be day one, but it very well could be day one, where they're like, all right, put him somewhere in this linebacker, whether it's, Mike, probably not. I think Landon Roberts has that locked down, but again, he has coverage issues, and I don't think Cody Lindenberg's coverage issues are anywhere near a Landon Roberts' coverage issues. I believe this kid has the smarts, the awareness, the football acumen, the place, the 1-2 to get better. A guy that's going to be in the playbook, that's going to know not only his position, but everybody's position on the field, to put guys in the right spot to make plays. That dude is Cody Lindenberg, man. This kid is special, I'm telling you. So there's a lot of questions, right? There's a lot of questions. And if this man, Cody Lindenberg, can be that guy to step up and be Robert Spillane, right? Now, people want to get pissed off at comps. This man is better than Robert Spillane coming out of college by far. This man hits, I would say, harder than Robert Spillane. He is bigger, he is stronger, he is faster. He hits harder than Robert Spillane. This dude is going to cause fumbles. He's going to jar balls loose. Pause if necessary. He is a playmaker. He can cover. He can cover. He's going to surprise people in the preseason when you see this man in coverage. Kind of like I say, with Amari Gainer. If those two guys step up and be the linebackers, and I'm not saying right away, but, mid-season, if these other guys struggle or, they're not having the production that we feel they should have or that they're going to have or, should have, watch out for Amari Gainer and this kid, bro. I'm telling you. Cody Lindenberg definitely has all the potential to take the spot and be better than Robert Spillane. He's going to be in the playbook. He's going to be that guy that PG loves, just like he did with Robert Spillane. He's going to be that guy that Patrick Graham takes his arm around and says, damn, I can do things with this young man. He can run a defense. He can take control of a game. He's going to be special. It might take time, but I feel, for some reason, I really feel like it's not going to take as long as people think for this kid. And this was a scary, 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 sneaky pick for this dude in the 7th round, really. Then we have the cornerbacks. Some people say it's a 4-man battle, right? You have Jacorian Bennett. Questions of him being healthy. You have Eric Stokes. First year he ever played. 17 games was last year. He had a minimum role. It was outside. It was inside. It was all over. Looked like he did better outside. DeCamarion Richardson. It's in his 2nd year. He's a Pete Carroll type guy, right? Has the speed, has the length, has the size. He can tackle. He showed that last year. I believe he's a better tackler than Jacorian Bennett. He could be one of those guys to, step up. Then you have the rookie, Darian Porter, who a lot of people believe is the future. I know he's the future. I'm not even thinking, there's no belief to it. He's going to be the starter. He's going to be the number one guy on this defense when it comes to that backfield. Is it going to be day one? Is it going to be year one? I don't know. I'm hoping. I'm praying to God. But eventually, midway through the season, he is the most athletic. He is the fastest. He is the tallest. He has the most length. He has the most upside. If you look at his college, he's the most durable. Darian Porter has a chance to really, really shock the NFL, shock a lot of people. We all know he played receiver, right? We know, what that is, playing both sides. You have knowledge of, where guys are lining up, the formations they're lining up in. You can probably, read routes a lot better just knowing the formation the guys are in. There's not too many routes you can run out of certain formations. So it gives them an upside. I believe the biggest upside for Darian Porter is the fact that he's raw, right? There's raw. He has no bad habits. It's, it's all fresh. So whatever he's learned, it's not embedded in his brain. It can be erased really, really quick. So whatever bad habits he picked up in the first year, he was a corner, or some people say second. I think it was only one. Those bad habits can be corrected very, very quickly. And when you have a guy like Pete Carroll, if this dude just lives up to, 3/4 of his potential in year one, it makes our defense better already from the jump. Then you have, Bennett showed flashes last season. We talked about his injuries. DeCamarion Richardson has the physical tools, but struggled in coverage. It's a guy that has a chance to learn under some veterans, that know what it's like to play through injuries, that know what it's like to be a 1st-round pick, that know what it's like to, go through the struggles of having these expectations of everything being on your shoulders because you were a 1st-round pick and then you get injured and then you get injured again and you never live up to your expectations. We got a guy like that in the building in Tyree Wilson. You got a guy like that in Eric Stokes. You got a guy like that and Lonnie. Um, so we have guys in the building that have been there, that have done that can help these young guys, know what not to do. How to keep their body strong for 17 games, because it's not college. It's not a 13, 11, 12, 13 games. It's a 17 game season. Some of these guys hit that rookie wall 13, 14 games in. They're not used to playing all those games. So we have guys like that in the building, like I said, like Eric Stokes. And that's another guy that, if he could be healthy and live up close to his potential of being a first round pick, that makes our back seven absolutely scary. And teams ain't going to want to mess with us, right? Number 2, the second biggest question, I believe, and one of the biggest questions, if not the biggest questions of all, that we have going into camp, going into the season, that is going to dictate where our season lies. And this is definitely them. Who is rising? Who is rising on our interior offensive line? Is there going to be guys that rise, that take the job from guys that already had the position, that we drafted, that we brought in free agency? Jackson Powers is definitely a starter at center, but guard is a question. There's a traffic jam with Dylan Parham, Jordan Meredith, Alex Kappa, Caleb Rogers. All these cats are fighting for spots, right? Kappa's got the most experience. We know, we've talked about that, which makes him the early favorite. But like I said, man, the injuries are a problem. We also have guys, I don't have that list of. We also have UDFA guys that we brought in, that a couple of them, we're keeping around to fill that 93 man roster, whatever it is this year. So there's a lot of young guys that are coming in. We have questions at the tackle position. We have a guy that's been here for 2 years, was teammates with DJ Glaze. Does he take the next step? Has he learned enough in the last 2 years? Dalton Wagner. Does Dalton Wagner become one of those guys that maybe steps up and earns a backup role? I just don't see him, taking the starting job. But you never know. At his size, his athleticism, it all comes down to how much somebody wants it, how healthy they can be. Athleticism-wise, I think DJ Glaze just got him beat. But then again, we don't know what Caleb Rogers, maybe he's better at tackle. I'm sure they're going to move these guys around. They're not just going to put them at one position. They're going to see where they're better at, who fits Chip Kelly's system the most, who's going to, be able to get to the next level, who's going to be able to pull, because there's going to be a lot of guards pulling, probably tackles pulling, getting to the outside, getting to that next level to open up holes for Genty. And if we don't have that, we are in big, big trouble. So that's a huge question, is who on this interior line is stepping up. And we've talked about the guys I believe are going to start, and I feel it's going to be Colton Miller. I think it's going to be Caleb Rogers. I think it's going to be JPJ at center. I think it's going to be Jordan Meredith. And I believe it's still going to be DJ Glaze, and unless, one of these guys beat him out. And I just don't think anybody is taking that spot. Maybe they feel that's the weakest link and they go get somebody in free agency, but then that leaves, 5, 6 guys. What, 11? We keep 9. I think we have 11 or 14 right now, 13 maybe with the UDFAs that we kept. So there's a lot of offensive linemen. There's going to be a lot of guys cut. If we go get a guy in free agency, maybe somebody gets cut or released, post June 1st releases that we feel is better than DJ Glaze, and they let him sit and get the year to develop that he didn't get last year. Because if DJ Glaze got a year to develop, to get stronger, faster, and better, under Pete Carroll, under his son, under Joe Philbon still in the building, this guy could be even better, right? Could be even better. So that is a huge, huge possibility for this offensive line. So there's questions on the offensive line, but I think I believe this offensive line, Piano Man, is way, way better than the offensive line last year. And we struggled at the beginning of the year, but I've said this a million times. They didn't struggle the whole year. There was a 5-game stretch where they kept the same 5 offensive linemen, and in that 5-game stretch, they were ranked top 13 in the NFL. So, and I think from December on out, they were, ranked in the top 10 to 15 as an offensive line. Now, it didn't show in the running game, but these guys got better, and we've improved on the athleticism, the strength, the size. We were a little light on the offensive line. Our depth was a little light on the offensive line. If Colton Miller got hurt, the drop-off was insane. You went from Pro Bowler to a guy that's, graded a 62 overall in Thayer Munford. That was our backup. Or a guy that was Andres Pete was graded like I think a 57 at one time in the year after he played a couple games. So that was our depth last year. That's not going to be our depth this year. We have I think Munford is I don't know if he makes this team or not, but if he does, that's a little bit better depth than I think, having whoever was starting or trying to play when Colton Miller was hurt, which I thought was Munford or Andres Pete. The depth is a lot better if we have Colton Miller and then Thayer Munford as a backup, or if we have to, a Caleb Rogers or a Charles Grant. Like, we have depth at those positions that we can keep, 4 tackles, or we don't even have to keep 4 tackles. We can keep 3 tackles on this offensive line because we have 3 guys, if not 4, that can play tackle and guard position. So I think the offensive line depth is way deeper than it was before. And that is huge because last year we got to a point where we only had 5 offensive linemen to put in a game. We were so injured that we were taking guys off the practice squad, and then we still didn't have, we had at some point Dalton Wagner, I believe, at some point was upgraded to the roster, I think, for a game because we didn't have enough offensive linemen to fill the 5 spots and have a backup. So we used a lot of tight end for a little bit also. So offensive line depth is key. And if somebody rises up and takes this spot that's better than the guy we had last year, that improves this offensive line. So the next, third biggest question we have, and this is huge. Christian Wilkins comeback. Is this dude a boom or a bust? I mean, we paid a lot of money to Christian Wilkins. He played 4 games. He missed the whole entire year. We were expecting him to eat up double teams. We were expecting him to take the pressure off of Max Crosby. We were expecting him to take the pressure off of Adam Butler. We were expecting him to take pressure off of Malcolm Kuntz that got hurt. We were expecting Christian Wilkins to do a lot of shit that he didn't do. This might be, besides Josh Jacobs, and I like Christian Wilkins. I really want to see him succeed. But this might be, or might turn out to be, I don't want to say be, this might turn out to be one of the worst signings the Raiders made in a long, long time. I mean, we drafted Tyree Wilson in the 1st round, 7th overall. Then we bring in a guy like Coupon Tom. And Tom Telesco, the first thing he does is go sign Christian Wilkins. Now, I was pumped. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, oh, when I seen the contract, I was like, damn, that's a lot of money for somebody that hasn't really done shit in the NFL. Like, yes, he's up and coming. Yes, he was good at Miami. but he didn't dominate our offensive line when we played Miami the year before. So I had questions about the contract price. But again, it's not my team. It's not my money. So Christian Wilkins, man, boom or bust. Like, this could be come back to bite us in the ass, or it could not, because I believe we drafted some cats in free agency, or not in free agency, but we have guys that we brought in last year in free agency. We got guys that we kept around in the building. We got guys that we brought in as UDFAs this year and last year, and we've cut a couple guys on the defensive line to make room for some of these guys that they have very high hopes for. So Wilkins went down last year in June with a fracture, a nasty foot injury that required surgery. By season's end, the walking boot was off. Fans exhaled. There came a twist. Wilkins was spotted back in the boot this offseason, but now the boot's off again. This on again, off again saga has the nation wondering, me wondering, is Christian Wilkins truly ready for the season? Man, the Raiders have stayed very tight-lipped about the situation. There's been rumors, there's been a couple leaks, there's been a couple, shit here and there, but all eyes have been on whether he suits up for OTAs. That's been the biggest question. Today, we didn't get to find out. I told y'all, no media is allowed in the damn building. So, no OTAs. We don't know. Is Christian Wilkins out there? Is he performing? Is he running around? We have no idea. If he's running full speed, it's a huge win for our defense. If not, another rehab setback could change everything for my prediction, which doesn't mean shit. But for this season, for our record, for the teams we face with pretty solid offensive lines, the Denver Broncos, the Philadelphia Eagles, I wouldn't say the Commanders, the Dallas Cowboys have bumped up their line. The Chargers have a solid ass offensive line. We play a lot of solid offensive line, and Christian Wilkins is a big part of this defense, man. If he's not out there eating up double teams, eating up runs, filling holes, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be really bad for this team. We have guys that are coming behind him, and Tonka Hemingway and JJ Pegas. We've brought in guys at defensive edge like John Joyner, like the dude I keep telling y'all about, and Jafari Harvey. Has anybody gone and watched tape on this man? Let me know if y'all did, what you think about my man. But that's a big question. Christian Wilkins, if this dude turns out to be injured again, it's a fail. That's a total fail. His guaranteed money has already been paid. It'll be however many games he misses, plus all the season last year, for $140 million. Now, I know he restructured his contract, but he still got upfront guaranteed money last year. That was guaranteed money in his pocket, not on our books, in his pocket, in his bank account, that he can only help play for 4 games. Now, I know he's pissed about it. I know he loves this team. He wants to be out there contributing and helping this team. But that doesn't help us win games, man. That doesn't help us win games. He's got to be healthy. So if Christian Wilkins is ready to go, if he's out there in OTAs, if he's out there in preseason, this team will definitely win a lot more games than people think. I promise you. Now, if he's not, we could very well even win more games by young guys that are hungry, that are healthy, that have the power to dominate, that have the size, the skill, 6'4", 320, play tight end, played fullback. I'll kill this damn fly. Tonka Hemingway, not right off the rip, but under a guy. The hell's our defensive tackle? Robbie Leonard. Fucking drew a blank. But under a guy like Robbie Leonard, just look what he's done with some of the defensive line since he's been here. I mean, Eli Nichols, he came around. He got let go. Fuck, who else? There's been a lot of guys, that's been around, that's come and went. In Robbie Leonard, there's a lot of guys that are still here. People might bitch about the development of Tyree Wilson, but I'm telling you, don't sleep on this kid. He's coming, man. He's coming. It's coming. So Robbie Leonard with some of these young guys, like a Tonka Hemingway, like a JJ Pegues. There's one fucking dude that I can't remember his name, and I don't have the list in front of me. Hold up. I'm gonna find it, dude, because this is pissing me off. But I'll keep talking. So, yeah. Actually, I'll wait. So yeah, 3 biggest questions so far that really define our season. That really define our season is who's locking down the secondary, who's rising on the interior line. Is Christian Wilkins gonna be 100% ready? And then 4th, Chip Kelly 2.0. What does Chip Kelly's offense look like as an offensive coordinator? I've talked about it. You don't have all the headaches of a head coach. You don't have all the here it is. You don't have all the pressure of being a head coach. Yes, there's a lot of pressure of being an offensive coordinator, but it's mainly focused on getting your team prepared and ready for what they are about to face. Can Chip Kelly be better as an offensive coordinator than he was as a head coach? I mean, as a head coach, his offense was dominant when he was a head coach. I mean, Michael Vick killed it. He always had a running game. He had a running game in Ohio State, 2,000-yard receivers, 2,000-yard running backs. Kelly's back in the pros, but this ain't 2013 in Philadelphia, right? He's got a lot to prove. Wait. Oh, he's got a lot to prove his evolution, right? His Ohio stint showed he can tweak his system, but how will it translate for the Raiders in the NFL? OTAs will be the first glimpse that we actually get to see of what Chip Kelly's offense is going to look like. Is it going to be a dominant, bunch like we ran last year? I think we ran bunch probably 90% of the time, whether it was, trips wide, trips left, whether it was, bunched in tight, outside, whether it was running backs inside, 2 tight ends, whether it was all 3 receivers. We ran a bunch of crazy ass, bunch and trips formations. What are we going to do this year? Is it going to be mostly run dominant? Are they going to let Geno try to beat teams with his arms? Are they going to take chances? Are they going to be conservative and, just try to put up points, run the clock with the run game? I think we have the offensive line and the team to do that under Genty. So those are big questions of what Chip Kelly's, what's his offensive going to be. So I think this OTAs, things we need to know, and we don't get to see today because no media's in the building. So we don't get to see tomorrow because they're off. So we have to wait. But make sure you go check out Vegas Sports today. I will be dropping whatever footage they drop. Like I said, I have permission to drop it so I can show their content. So we will be dropping whatever they drop. We will be going over it, talking about it tomorrow. We will break all that shit down. What time? You already know. I don't know. Uh, but that is a big question, and that is number 4. If Chip Kelly's offense could be the dominant offense he was in Philly, if it could be the dominant offense it was in college football, we look great, right? Right? How long has it been since we've put up 30 points a game, 35 points a game, 37 points a game? If you think that's not doable, you're absolutely flipping wrong. You are wrong. Geno throws one of the cleanest deep balls. He has one of the best deep balls accuracy percentage. He has one of the best quarterback percentages last year. Now, I've talked about it. Most of them were short yards, 15 yards and down, but it doesn't matter as long as it's high percentage and we're making plays. He knows how to lead receivers. He knows how to give the receivers ability to make plays after the catch. The guy is a very smart veteran, and I believe we have a chance to see the best Geno Smith. We have a chance to see the best running game we've seen, you know, since JJ, but it wasn't consistent. We had 1,600-yard season. We had 800-yard seasons. We had seasons where he played 17 games. We had seasons where he played, 10 games. It wasn't consistent. Hopefully, this dude, Ashton Jeanty, can be that consistent, bell cow who doesn't get overloaded. Jeanty can help take pressure off of Geno's shoulders. Geno could take pressure off Jeanty's shoulders. We have Jack Beck, who I don't know how many 200-yard games receiving this dude had, but I think one of them, I believe, was in the Senior Bowl, right? Or very close to 200 yards. MVP of the Senior Bowl. This kid is special. We've talked about his brother. We talked about him not only playing for himself, but playing for his brother and his brother's legacy. That could be huge for us. That could be huge. If Geno can just gel with these guys, we already know it's not hard to not gel with Jacoby Myers, bro. Jacoby Myers is one of those dudes that, he's always going to be open. Like, go back and watch film. This man gets open. He can be that number 1 guy if he has to be. So Chip Kelly's offense has a chance to be very special. We have 2 running backs that could be dominant. We could use, Zamir White as a fullback. We have Dylan Labe if he makes the roster. That's a big question, but we have Dylan Labe we can use as a scat back. We can use to run those wheel routes that they ran a whole lot of in Ohio, at Ohio State last year. We have guys that we can use. We have Mostert. We can take the pressure off of Jeanty right off the bat. He don't have to be a 30, 35 carry a game for us to be a dominant power run game and, control the line of scrimmage, control the clock, and just dominate the game. So Chip Kelly's offense has the chance to be very, very special. And if it's not elite, we still have a chance to make the playoffs. If his offense is elite, which it has a very, very high potential to be elite, when you have quarterbacks and coaches that know each other, that believe in each other, nobody believes in Geno Smith more than Pete Carroll. That weighs big on a quarterback. When you know somebody believes in you, that the guy that believes in you most, his career is riding on your shoulders. Pete Carroll went to bat for Geno Smith. He put all his cards in one basket, put all his chips on the table. We are in Vegas, and he's spinning the wheel. Geno Smith will do everything in his power, I believe, not to let Pete Carroll down, man. Now, can he do it all? No. But if he can just stay upright, stay protected, he has definitely a chance to win us a lot of games, to shock a lot of teams. Now, there's still more shit we got to talk about. So, don't get too excited. But I'm telling you, there's not too many there's not too many coaching quarterback duos in the NFL like we have, right? A comeback story. Pete Carroll took a year off, thought he was done, decided he wanted to come back, goes and trades for his guy. Now, was it the number one guy? I don't know, because they tried to go get Matthew Stafford, so it might not have been number one. However, don't underestimate the fact and the power of wanting to, wanting to prove somebody right, wanting to succeed, because everything is riding on your shoulders. Their career rides on you. Their success rides on you. The team's success rides on you. That was one of our weakest links last year, was the quarterback position and the running back position. So I know I've talked about taking a lot of pressure off of Geno, but it's still a lot of pressure. And you can take pressure off him on the field, but you can't take the pressure out of his head, bro. There's a lot that comes with it. And when you hear Geno talk, he's ready for it, 100%. This dude is not shying away from it. He's not scared. Fucking fly. He's preparing every bit. So Geno Smith is number 5. Is he the X factor? Can he be the X factor? Smith revived his career in Seattle, but the Raiders didn't trade for him just to be good enough, right? Kind of what I've been saying. Sorry, I'm reading fucking. They need elite play from Geno Smith. They need him to throw for 4,000 yards. They need him to throw for 30 touchdowns. They need him to not throw for more than 10 interceptions. They need him to hold on to the damn football and not fumble the football 9 times in a season. They need him to do a lot. So they need him to be elite for them to make the playoffs. He's got the arm strength. He's got the accuracy. He has the mobility. But can he elevate this offense? Can he make this offense what it's supposed to be with the weapons we have? Like Dante Thornton, like Jacoby Myers, like Brock Bowers, like Jack Beck. Some of these younger cats that we brought in, like a Mallet. The list goes on and on. There's 13, 11, 12 receivers on this roster right now. So those are my biggest keys, man. Those are why I think, it really comes down to, what is that? Yeah, so it really comes down to those 5 key factors going into camp, going into preseason, going into the season. And if those 5 things can happen, if Geno stays upright, if Geno is protected, if he's not running for his life and making horrible, ill-advised throws, which he's been done in the past. If he doesn't fumble the ball in the red zone, which he's done a lot. A lot of his fumbles come in the red zone, trying to run to the end zone. Can't have that shit. Get back into this shit. What do you guys think? Only part of our team that got bet. That's where I stopped. Nice. How'd I get right back to that? Our wide receiver, man, we don't care about the Chargers. There's level to this shit. There is levels to this shit. And stacking drafts is the number 1 level to this shit. Super Bowl teams are built through the draft, not free agency, not taking somebody's scrubs, not taking somebody, that built a reputation, that had a good year and is looking to get a bag but really hasn't proved himself. You don't win like that. You can win like that. You can make it to the playoffs. You can win Super Bowls with taking guys in free agency, But most of the playoff teams and Super Bowl teams, these are teams that have guys on them that weren't expected to be on that team, right? Guys like Antonio Pierce, who was a UDFA, who made it to the Super Bowl as a Mike linebacker. Nobody believed in that dude. Nobody thought he was going to be a starter in the NFL, a playoff starter in the playoffs, a Super Bowl starting linebacker. Nobody believed in Antonio Pierce to do that shit. So, nobody believed Jacoby Myers was going to be a UDFA and have 1,000-yard season last year with 0 drops on um almost 100 attempts. Like that's insane, right? So don't underestimate the power of drafting right, of having a good free agency, but mostly getting sneaky ass players at UDFAs because you have the right guys in the building, the right talent evaluators in the building, guys that know how to mesh different kinds of characters to get the best the best kind of tight knit gelled unit that we haven't had. We thought we had last year. We find out, there was guys in the building that weren't happy with the coaches, that weren't happy with the way practices were run, that weren't happy with that shit. This year it's going to be different. So yeah, there is levels to this shit. You got to build from the ground up, but building through the draft, bro, is the number one way. And if you can consistently hit through the draft, that's how you get better. That's how you get better faster. Just look at Philadelphia. Look at the Titans. Not the Titans. Look at the Texans. Look at these teams that turn it around in one draft, in 1 year, that go from bottom to top to the playoffs. It happens year after year after year. Every year, there's 1 or 2 teams in the NFL that go from the bottom to the top and make the playoffs. Why can't it be the Raiders? Right? I thought we had the team last year. They just needed to stay healthy. We needed a quarterback. We probably should have went with the one we had instead of the one we brought in. Might have changed shit around. This year, we got better at the quarterback position. We've upgraded at the running back position. We have 3 guys that can end up being the number 1 receiver on this team. That's a competition. That's a competition we didn't have last year, right? Last year in camp, there wasn't even a competition. Our number 1 receiver, Devontae Adams, thought he had the job so wrapped up, he left for a whole entire week to go have a baby. So there wasn't a battle, right? We had guys that felt like the job was theirs. It was given to them. They didn't have to earn that shit. They could just take a week off, come back, still be the number 1 guy, not have to play in preseason when they're told they're going to play no matter what. We don't have that shit this year. We have Jacoby Myers, Jack Beck, Thornton. These guys can all end up being the number 1 receiver in this system, and it just all comes down to who gels with our quarterback the most, who becomes his security blanket, who he trusts the most. And we have guys like Jack Beck that don't drop a lot of balls, right? He catches, his catch radius is fucking crazy, dude. You can throw 50-50 balls up there. He's going to come down with 75 of them. Jacoby Myers, the same thing. He has strong hands. His catch radius is a lot bigger than people think. Another guy that is going to win a lot of 50-50 balls. So people are sleeping on this team, bro. I think people are sleeping on this team. People are sleeping on how Pete Carroll didn't let the media in today. There's a reason why the media wasn't allowed in the building. This was an internal thing where he wanted to get through to the players without anybody seeing it, anybody knowing what was going on. What they were trying to do, what drills they were running. And I love the silence, bro. I love the silence. Silence makes people crazy. Also, Raiders, our special teams, our kickoff return Davis as the rookie, Rocket Sanders. What will be a problem? Especially in a punt return. I don't think there's too many problems in the punt return with the new kicking rules. I was a little wrong last year on those rules, but with the new rules, I don't think there's going to be too much of too many explosive plays. Now, punt returns, that's a different story. But on kickoffs, I just don't see it. My guy Big Luck say, I did not get your prediction. Where'd the rest of the chat go? Can I go back any further? Where? Raiders vs. Titans will be a good game. That game's up in the air. Nah, bro, I don't think. I mean, every game's up in the air, right? Teams have got better, but with their coaches against our coaches, nah, bro, nah. So, so we talked about Geno Smith, right? Let's talk about Pete Carroll. What's Pete Carroll's record against teams we play, right? Does this have anything to do with whether we could go 12-5 or 10-6 or 10-7? Sorry, 11-6. You know, does this have anything to do with it? I believe it does. Now, all these teams change, but I do believe that when you play a team enough, and a lot of these teams have new coaches, a lot of them still have the same general managers, still have the same philosophy, still try to run their organizations the same way, still have a lot of the same players. So, what is Pete Carroll's record against our schedule? Well, against the Denver Broncos, lifetime, Pete Carroll is 5-4. Against the Chargers, Pete Carroll is 3-2. Against the Chiefs, this one hurts. Sit down. He's 2-4. Against the Colts, lifetime, Pete Carroll is 7-3. Against the Tennessee Titans, lifetime, Pete Carroll is 3-3. Against the Jaguars, he is 3-2. Against the Giants, he is 7-2. Against the Commanders and probably the Redskins, he is 4-3. Against the Cowgirls, he is 6-4. Against the Patriots, he is 4-2. Against the Eagles, he is 8-1. I repeat that. Against the Eagles, he is 8-1. Some of those teams, I do believe, were Chip Kelly teams back in the day. So, take that for what you want. Against the Patriots, he is 4-2. Against the Browns, he is 4-2. Against the Bears, he is 5-4. The only team out of those 17 teams that Pete Carroll has a losing record to is the Kansas City Chiefs, which I predicted us to sweep and win both games this year. Purpo in the building. Raiders. So, again, take that for what it is. But the only losing record is against the Chiefs. Like I said, I predicted them to sweep the Chiefs this year. I just feel like we've been so close in so many games with a way less team, with worse coaching, and let's not forget this. Let's throw this in here before I read the rest of this shit. I think I got to most of it. Pete Carroll, right? Sorry, I got distracted. I was reading this shit. Pete Carroll against some of these teams in some of these divisions, I'm sure a lot of these guys are not coaching for these teams anymore. So it might not be the biggest, Matt Marinovich, what's good, what's good. Purpo, let's go with the trophies. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. The fuck was I gonna say? So Pete Carroll has beat a lot of these teams. Chip Kelly has beat a lot of these teams. The camaraderie that these guys are putting on, keep preaching in the building, I think goes a long, long, long way. Now, I talked about the UDFAs, bringing these guys in that have a chance, if anything, to at least make the practice squad, right? Because you still need 18 players on the practice squad. So not all of these 93 guys are leaving, right? You have 53 and 18, which is what, 60, 70, 72, some shit like that. but we have guys in the building that can develop these corners, that can develop the linebackers. And that's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. So, we brought back Malcolm Kuntz. If you didn't check out The Rush, go check it out. Malcolm Kuntz said he was offered money from other teams, and I'm sure it was more money than what the Raiders offered him. He was offered more money. He asked his agent. He said his agent would come up and say, so this and this team offered you this much. And he'd say, what did the Raiders say? Have you talked to the Raiders today? Did you call the Raiders? Then they come back and say, this team wants to offer you this much. He'd say, but what did the Raiders say? Have you talked to the Raiders today? This man wants to be a Raider. He wanted to play with Max Crosby. He wanted to stay with Robbie Leonard, who is, one of the best defensive line coaches in the NFL, in my opinion. The way he develops these guys says a lot. And he's developed guys with way lesser talent over the last couple years. And I think the talent on this roster is way, way better than it has been. So his development of these guys is going to produce better quality players because they're already up there. So the more he shows them, the better they're going to get. And I believe this is going to be just a huge, huge thing for the Raiders. But Malcolm Kuntz, could have went and played for other teams. He waited until the Raiders made him an offer. And it sounded like he just pretty much took what offer they made him. So I think that speaks volumes for Malcolm Kuntz, wanting to be a Raider, drafted Raider, once a Raider, always a Raider. He wants to be in the building. He could have went elsewhere. He could have probably made more money. Probably could have got a longer contract, but he wanted to stay with the Raiders. And I think that goes a long, long way in this organization. And I think that goes it's going to go a long, long way with his teammates. Also this year, the Raiders, we play 8 road games, right? 8 road games. Y'all know that shit? So in the 8 road games we play, 6 of them were playoff teams last year. And I know you're looking at that big red and white 12-5 above my head. Whatever side it's on. You're like, this dude's a fucking clown. Go ahead, laugh. I'm laughing too. But for real, eight road games, 6 of them are playoff teams. Out of the other 9 games, I think only 2 of them were playoff teams. A lot of those, all those are home games. So you take those home games, and in the home games, we only play 2 teams that were playoff teams last year. Come on, man. That's a huge upside to us. That's big. The teams we played last year at home, the year before, were all, Super Bowl caliber teams. So, I guess we played 3. The Chargers, the Broncos. I might be wrong. Maybe 3 or 4. Anyways, out of those playoff teams, though, like I'm saying, out of the road games, 6 of those teams are playoff teams. 3 of them are in our division. The Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Chargers, which I believe we have a chance to beat every one of those teams on the road. It's been a long, long time coming since we beat the Chargers at home. Fuck, since they moved to their new stadium, right? The Broncos, it hasn't been a long time coming. We dominated them for the last 4 years. The Chiefs, we've beat them at home, right? It's been a minute, but, we beat them at home. So, we can beat these teams at home. We can win these games. Some of these playoff teams, I don't believe their coaching experience, their coaching knowledge, the coaches that they've brought in. We don't know if these guys are going to gel. their offense and defensive systems are going to work. Like, they have a lot of questions. We don't know if our offense and defensive systems are going to work. We know we have one huge advantage out of all these teams we play. And I mean all of them except for the Chiefs. Out of every team we play this year, we have the longest reigning defensive coordinator in the building. 4 years for Patrick Graham. Not the Broncos, not the Chargers, not the Commanders, not the Patriots, not the Titans, not the Jaguars, not the Cowboys, not the Browns. I don't even think, not even the Eagles. I think he's been there 4 years. So maybe not even the Eagles. None of these teams have had the same defensive coordinator for 4 years, with a bunch of guys that are returning, that know the system, that can teach it very soon, very quickly to the up and coming guys in the building. So I think that's another huge key part to this. I hope you're not Hispanic because you would make us look silly. What are you talking about? White girl crazy. Fuck yeah. You think a 7th round pick is gonna start? You know how many 7th round picks in UDFAs have started year one? It's not impossible. It's not impossible. Did I say he start day one? I said I don't know. I said he's gonna get a whole bunch of burn. He's gonna get playtime. I'm telling you, this is one of the best linebackers we have on our roster, dude. Lindenberg is no joke. This kid is gonna be special. He has that it factor. He has that alpha male. He's gonna come in and show everybody in the building. Like, I don't care. I'm a rookie, bro. I don't care. I'm gonna work. Try to outwork everybody. I'm gonna out film study everybody. I'm gonna know everybody's job better than everybody. And when he's called on to do his job, I believe he's gonna be the best one on that field to do it and to put guys in that position. I just believe Cody Lindenberg is that dude, man. The kid has it. He has it. He has it. We bitched about Spillane, going to New England. We bitched about not bringing him back. Lindenberg could be better. Now, we know Spillane's tackling. We know his coverage. We know his ability to get to the quarterback and make plays, to make sacks. To break up plays on the outside. He's done it. He's break up, plays on the inside. Cody Lindenberg is better right now at all those qualities. Now, does he have the veteran, experience? Does he have the awareness? Does he know the timing of the NFL? Does he know the speed of the NFL? That's all going to take time. It takes time. It takes discipline. But the character that this dude has, his work ethic, he has everything he needs to be that guy. And I said that about Amari Gaynor last year. Amari Gaynor didn't get that burn. Maybe Cody Lindenberg won't get that chance. But if he really is that alpha and he shows it, I'm telling you to watch out for this kid, bro. Watch out for this kid. There's another kid over there that just killed us last year. You want to know why we went and got guys like Cody Lindenberg? Go look at the Kansas City Chiefs. What's their Mike linebacker last year? I can't remember that kid's name. Fuck, I'll have to look it up. I'll KC linebacker. I gotta write this shit down because I'll never remember. Look up. Yeah, but I believe he was a UDFA. I believe nobody said the kid would start. I believe he started the second most games at linebacker position last year for the Kansas City Chiefs. The dude made plays. He was in the backfield constantly. He murdered us in the backfield. He murdered the whole division. The kid was explosive, A lot of people said he couldn't cover. A lot of people said, which he can't. He's not great in coverage, but he showed that he could be right. He showed flashes, and I think Lindenberg is that style dude, man. He just has that dog in him. He wants to be that alpha. He doesn't want to be on the bench. He loves football, and he's gonna do anything in his power to be on that field. Now, if it means whatever it means, he's gonna do it. If it means having to stand out, having to when they cut guys off in practice, because there's been guys that don't do that. Who's next? Who's next? Get in there, shit. Guy, jump in line, take your turn. I believe that dude has that mentality. He has that 1-2. He has that will, to want to be the best, to want to be a starter. And like I said, it might not be day one, but watch out for Cody Lindenberg. I'm telling you. Play that funky music, Raider boy. Can be decent, like I've seen you in your last Piano Man. You act like why can't you be decent like I've seen you in your lives? um because you gotta have respect, bro. You gotta have respect for people. I think he has a little bit more respect for me, if I read your question right. um and we know Piano Man's a troll, bro. He just rubs people the wrong way. Some people don't like it. You guys have to win against your arch rival, arch division rivals. Fuck the record book. They trying to kill the Broncos, Chargers. Will be tough to beat. This ain't Madden at James Furpo. Shit, James knows what he's talking about, bro. We know this ain't Madden. It's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot. Like I said, we have questions, major questions, but I think those questions will be answered very, very soon. My guy Furpo said, "Got nothing good to say to you, but Raider Nation for life, Raiders." I'm not bueno. What to do? What to do? Um, Brandon Hallam, what's good? What's good? It is a pretty hot take, but I gave my reasons why. And like I said, if you haven't watched it live, go back and check it out. Called Record Predictions, Raiders Record Predictions. I gave my reasons, and I know it's way too early in the season to say the Raiders have any chance of any of these dudes being what I believe they're going to be. Now, if some of these kids were drafted to other teams, to other coaches, the upside might not be as high, or my expectations might not be as high. But if I look at this coaching staff and I go back and you look at Marcus Robinson, what he's done with corners in the past, and if you want to look, go back and look, man. We have Raider players that talk very, very highly of what this man has done for their, for their career. So we have development guys in the building, guys that love to teach, guys that are very knowledgeable and can get their message through, can make guys buy in. And I think that's key. We all know that's key to winning in the NFL. So yes, it's a crazy take. It's gonna take a lot. I know. And again, no preseason games. Haven't even played a snap. Last year, I've seen 3, 4, 5 predictions by every single content creator out there. So after I did this one, I broke down all the facts. I gave my reasons why. I gave the records for teams last year where they were ranked on defense, offense, how we improved at the most needy positions: running back, quarterback, offensive line. All those were the biggest holes we had last year. Not having a number one receiver. Like I said, I think we have 3 guys that can compete for that spot. So yeah, it is a hot take. I totally agree. I just hope to God it comes true. Waiters. Who's a waiter? Bring me food, man. Um uh See your way out. 10-7 is a bit more realistic. I agree. I'm not gonna lie. 100%. I think 10-7 is way more realistic, and I'd be a clown to sit here and say it wasn't. However, it's not impossible. It looks impossible. It looks impossible. Looking at our division, but when you go back and put it all together, man, it's not that impossible. And I agree, Matt. 10-7 is way more realistic, and I could see that's probably closer to where we will be. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's 10-7. Um, it could be 9-6. Like, I mean, 9-8. It could be 9-8. I think 8 games is our floor. I don't see us losing more than 8 games. I just don't see 8 teams on this roster that are better than our roster. And I went through over the weekend. I was gonna go live Saturday night, but by the time I realized what time it was a little too late. I had some shit I wanted to show, but we'll do it again. Like I said, there's plenty of off season. We'll have time. But I broke down the teams we played, how many PFF graded players they have over an 80, right? Because if you're graded an 80 or higher on PFF, you're pretty much a damn good player, right? You have to have a high grade at every category to be in the 80s. So it's not guaranteed Pro Bowl type player or all pro, but it's up there, right? If your grades are in the 80s, you're up there. So if we look at all the teams we play and how many first round picks they have compared to our first round picks that are still on the roster, if you look at how many free agent busts we've brought in compared to how many free agent busts they've brought in, doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. In fact, it looks like we could be 5-12. I mean, we should be if you look at all the problems we've had over the years. However, when you hit just here and there on guys like Max Crosby, when you hit, just here and there on free agency and guys like Jacoby Myers, when you hit in the draft on guys like Brock Bowers, and then the next year you double up and hit in the draft on an Ashton Genty, it very quickly turns a franchise around. It turns the morale in the building around. It turns the energy around. It turns the belief around, right? When you have a second and third round pick that contribute the first year on one of the hardest positions in the NFL at the offensive line and hold their own and show upside game after game after game, show flashes of, could be that guy, also show flashes of needing work, but show improvement. Like DJ Glaze, who I said went up against, I think, eight or nine Pro Bowl defensive ends last year. And some of those guys were all pro Hall of Famers. I think 5 of them guys that are probably going to be in the Hall of Fame more than likely. So DJ Glaze had his work cut out for him. He got that work last year and he held his own. When you get guys like that in a draft and you continuously hit like that, yes, we probably need 2 more drafts to be, a continuous a team that continuously battles for a playoff spot, that continuously contends, a team that's continuously over 500. Yes, we are a ways off. I get that. 2 more drafts, like we had this year and last year. Maybe not that far off, right? 1 more draft. That's a lot of players. That's a lot of players. If we have even Trey Taylor, say Trey Taylor comes out. See Decamarion Richardson gets more grass time. Say Dylan Labe starts to, show signs of improvement, whether it's the punt return, kick return, whether it's running wheel routes out of the backfield or just catching the ball out of the backfield. If those guys start to show improvement, that's 5 guys, possibly, 6 guys out of the draft last year that are guys that are starting or contributing. This year, if you look at guys like Ashton Genty, Jack Beck, Dante Thornton, the Denarius Porter, if you look at uh, Caleb Rogers, you look at Grant, look at Lindenberg. There's 6 guys right there that have a chance not only to start sometime this season, but contribute at a high rate on this offense, whether it's special teams, whether it's defensive packages, whether it's starting games. There's a lot of guys that we brought in that have the chance to start. And when you hit like that and you bring in a coach that knows how to get the best out of players, that knows how to develop these young guys, when you bring in the guys that we brought in to draft these guys, the scouts that we brought in, the talent that they've been bringing in, it's been a long time coming since we've had this much talent in the building, since we've had this much depth. Last year, we knew who our wide receivers were going to be, right? Everybody that did their roster predictions, who was wrong? Find me somebody that was wrong last year on their roster predictions. Now, there might have been a guy here and there, but we pretty much knew our receivers. We pretty much knew our guys in the backfield, our guys at safety. We pretty much knew the linebackers. We knew the offensive line. We knew who all these guys were going to be. This year, we don't have a clue. We don't. I mean, y'all might. I've watched tape till my eyes bled. I've watched film of last year. I've listened to these guys' press conferences. I've read everything I can possibly read from everybody that talks about the Raiders. More. I see more shit of people talking about the Raiders on the chance of how good they could be this year than I've have in the last 10 years. There's more reporters saying the Raiders' upside is higher than people think. The Raiders' record could be better than people think. There are a lot of teams talking about how good this team is going to be, and it's mainly because of Pete Carroll, because of Spytek, because of Brady, because what we've done in upper management, getting guys that, have been receiver coaches for way too long that's never developed anybody. When was the last time we developed a receiver in Raider Nation? Can you tell me one time in the last 20 years that we developed a receiver that became our number one guy? That was the guy in the building? Like, how long ago? Tim Brown? Is it really Tim Brown? I'm saying it's a different time, bro. This is a different team. What do we got? Dylan Labe needs to step it up. How can you say that, Greg? He got 1 carry. Step up what? Fuck's he gonna step up? If he gets 2 carries this year, that's a step up, right? If he gets 4 carries this year, that's a step up. I mean, how could you not step up? The dude got 1 carry, 1 fumble. People keep thinking he had 2 fumbles. 1 was in the preseason. Both were balls that were punched out by Hall of Famer, all-pro defensive ends. Like, give the kid a break. So, yes, I agree. He does need to, step it up. But on the other hand, he was drafted in the 6th round, man. What do you expect from a 6th round running back that was mainly drafted for special teams? Like, they knew it when we drafted him. I just think they need to use him better. Like I said, some slant routes, some out routes, some wheel routes, some drag routes. Let this kid do what he does best and catch the damn football, because I believe that's one of his sneakiest, best accolades is his hands. If you don't believe it, go back and look at his grades. Go back and look at his, catch ratio coming out of college 2 years ago. He was one of the highest graded receivers, and he was a running back. So, like, don't sleep on Labe. Guys are just used wrong. How many times have we seen guys drafted in the NFL to a shit team or a shit offensive coordinator or a shit coach because they don't know how to use these guys or get the best out of these guys, or they yell and scream at them, or they just don't click with these guys, and the guys end up being called bust. And then they go to another team, and they're in the Pro Bowl their first year. The next year they're in the Pro Bowl, right? And 2 years later they're taking their team, taking their team to the playoffs. Like, it's a lot over and over and over again. So I'm telling you, what does that even mean? Bolt up. It means bolt up their ass. I don't know. Goat talk. I'm her for it. Yes, he loves us. Stop. Get SpongeBob and Patrick. Who's SpongeBob and who's Patrick? Chai's NFL gaming news. What's good? What's good? What does that say? Choose? What the hell's your name? We need holes for Genty and time for Geno. Yeah, that's 100% facts. We do need holes for Genty. I believe we have the offensive line to open them up. I believe if we run 12 personnel. Now, Brock Bowers, EFF grade, run blocking, and pass blocking was under 60 last year. Not good. It's going to have to step it up. On the other hand, Michael Mayer's pass blocking, run blocking was over a 74 last year. So a lot of people, want to underestimate Big Mike and his ability to open up holes for our running backs, to create lanes for our running back. If we run 12 personnel, that's 7 offensive linemen behind a freakishly, sneakily quick, twitchy, versatile, strong, can run you over, can jump over you, can run through you, can push you down with a stiff arm, can spin around you, can jump cut you and leave your shoes laying in the grass at the 10-yard line. There's a lot he can do. This O-line does need to open up holes. But again, I went over it. Colton Miller, EFF grade in the run game last year, 80%. Jordan Meredith in the run game last year, 80%. Dylan Parham in the run game last year, 76%. Those are our 3 best offensive linemen. Caleb Rogers in college last year, his run grade was one of the highest. Now, I know he played tackle and he played guard, but this dude is a road grader. He's athletic. He loves to win every rep. Like, he thrives on, beating his guy, and he doesn't do it with the most athleticism, the strongest. A lot of it's leverage. He knows how to get leverage. He knows how to use his leverage, and he's a smart guy. Sometimes being smart on the offensive line, know how to get guys leaning one way and then go the other way, or get guys leaning forward. That push and pull that Max Crosby does and shit. Those push and pulls are nasty, bro. So intelligent offensive linemen that are athletic and physical are rare breeds in the NFL. And guys that are physical and athletic and intelligent on the offensive line play in the NFL for 10, 12, 14 years. And I believe Caleb Rogers is one of those dudes that can develop into that guy and really could already be that guy. I mean, he could be better than some of the guards we have. I'm not playing. So, yes, we have to open up holes for Ashton Genty, but I believe we have the offensive line to do it. DJ Glaze needs to work on his, on his fucking run blocking. JPJ needs to work on his run blocking. His run blocking was like a 62 last year. Not a very good run blocking grade. His passing grade was the same, I think 62 or 63. So I know we all think JPJ is that dude. And again, he was hurt. He had, concussion problems or whatever, had the shoulder problem. So he's back. He's stronger than ever. If that dude can just become half the road grader we think he's going to be in the run game, Ashton Genty is special. And if you give Geno time to pick you apart, he has the intelligence, he has the decisiveness, he has the arm strength, he has the touch, he has the accuracy downfield to beat you. And again, if our offensive line does what it's supposed to, this team is going to be a lot better than people believe. Miller needs to step up this year if he wants that bag. Raider Way, what's good? Appreciate you. Yeah, you got to get that. I mean, but what more do you want from a guy that's, what is he, 29 years old, 30 years old? His PFF grade, pass blocking, was an 80 all year long. His run PFF grade was 80 all year long. I don't know what more he can do. If we look at Colton Miller's stats, actually, hold up. I'm not gonna sit here and just talk. Fuck it. Actually, I'm not gonna bring that up. I've been on here 2 hours. I'll bring it up tomorrow. We'll break all the stats down tomorrow. But yeah, Colton Miller needs to step up. He gave up 7 sacks in the first 8 games. He gave up 1 sack in the last 9 games, but he also gave up 14 pressures in those last 9 games. I believe those 14 pressures are huge. Very, very huge. You can't give up 14 pressures. You can't give up 8 sacks in a season and be a Pro Bowler to be our best, offensive lineman. But I do give him an excuse. He was hurt. He was not ready to play. He did play not 100% healthy. So if Colton Miller is close to the Colton Miller he usually is, our offensive line is dominant, bro. It's dominant. If Jordan Meredith plays like he played, my biggest question right now on the offensive line is DJ Glaze, the mule. How much can he take that next step? We really need him to be that dominant right tackle that doesn't give up 5 pressures a game. He didn't give up a bunch of sacks last year, but he was horrible in the run game, and he was horrible. He gave up more pressures than anybody on our offensive line last year. So for DJ Glaze to keep that job, he's got a lot of work to do. He's not going to be able to keep that job the way he performed last year. And I think he got a little bit of tilted scale last year because he was a rookie. He was a 3rd round pick and he should have not been out there, but he was. And I think he did a damn good job. JPJ is going to be the man for the Raiders in due time. He's got to clean up the penalties. Those hurt us a lot. You can't have 15-yard penalties, 10-yard penalties after the play is over, especially when they're big plays. I think it was 4 plays or 5 plays last year where over 10-yard plays were called back because of JPJ after the play. So I love the kid. You just got to clean up some of that, some of that intensity has to been toned down a little bit to intelligent tenacity. You know what I mean? Wilkins got 1 year left to prove himself. That's sad, bro. You got 1 year left on that contract and he's done shit. I don't know if he can prove himself. Let me know in the chat. 15 people in here. What do you think Christian Wilkins has to do to prove himself this year? He's got 1 year left on his contract, my man says. To me, you have to have 10 or 12 sacks to make up for last year. And I don't think he can have 10 or 12 sacks this year, healthy or not. I just don't. We got weapons. Do be happy for your boy. Who's we at Piano Man? Piano Man has a mouse in his pocket. He carries that shit around. That's the only we he knows. I'm saying. Tom Telesco is the reason we don't have Jacobs. I agree. Just know we have special teams. Chargers, I love the coach, but I don't think you guys have it this year. I don't either. I think they have a tough schedule. I think they have a little bit of dwelling to do. I think people kind of caught on to the offensive coordinator towards the end of the year last year, and they didn't do as good. Ate the motherfucking game, pimping, my guy says. What do we got? NFL news, I don't know. It all comes down to what teams keep guys healthy, right? That's the biggest thing. Why are you worrying about teams that are way better than your homeless piano puss? I'm almost fucked. I can't get rid of that. What else we got? Laughing my ass off. All right, trying to catch up on this check. Injury bug is a pain in the butt. Fuck. Oh shit. We seen that last year. But I think Pete Carroll knows how to keep guys healthy. If we go back, actually I'll break that down if I can find it in time. But I want to kind of break down Pete Carroll's teams and what you know, key injuries they had throughout the years. So I don't know if I can find that. Um, but I'll do some research tomorrow and see if I can come up with that stat, because I don't believe Pete Carroll's teams over the years that I can remember, had 7 guys on one side of the ball go down in a season. I think his guys are, pretty much in shape and flexible and healthy. So, maybe they get new trainers in the building. I don't know what, but something has to be done with the health issue. I agree. Raider Nation, your team is ass though, Piano. It is ass, bro. They did make the playoffs, but Piano Man, you're seeming to forget the Chargers the year before were one of the worst teams in the NFL. They had one of the weakest schedules in the NFL last year. So for them to make the playoffs, it was destined, bro. They played the Raiders, who were trash. That's 2 games a given right there. They played the Broncos early in the season. They struggled until the first 3 or 4 games. They played the Carolina Panthers. I mean, before we did that, before they started, changing quarterbacks, and they never got good. It really doesn't matter. The Cleveland Browns, after we beat that ass and they had a bunch of injuries, like, it's not like the Chargers were the best team in football, bro, or they just dominated. When their schedule got rough, matter of fact, against playoff teams last year, the Chargers were 2-5 or 2-6, I do believe, against playoff teams last year. So your 10-6 record doesn't mean shit. 6 of those losses were to playoff teams. The rest of those 10 wins were the lightning bugs. We're losing teams, bro. So stop with that shit. Stop. Just stop. Wake up and smell the coffee. We're gonna beat most teams with play action. I agree. Play action is gonna be nasty. And Raider Paul, what's good? When you have to prepare for one guy like a Saquon Barkley, it takes a lot out of a defensive coordinator. It takes a lot out of a defensive staff to prepare for one guy. When you have to prepare for a guy like Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown, it takes more, right? When you have to prepare for a guy like Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, the speed of Dante Thornton and the height, the strength, the awareness, the intelligence, the tenacity and fortitude of a Jack Beck. When you have to accommodate for all these things as a defensive coordinator, there's not enough days in the week. There's not enough days in between games. If you're coming off of short weeks, man, I feel sorry for the teams like the I think like the Chargers, like the Broncos, like the Chiefs, that are all, playing tough ass teams coming off of short weeks. So don't overestimate because you made it to the playoffs with a first year coach and, got rid of a bunch of guys and got lucky and, snuck the ass into the playoff. This Charger team still has holes, right? Their defense, like I said, got smashed, bro, against playoff teams, against mobile quarterbacks. Their defense struggled mildly. They got smashed in the playoffs. So the first game, it wasn't even close. It sucks to say, but I think we resign Jacoby after the season. I hope we resign Jacoby, man. We need that dude. We need dogs like that on our team. So, what else we got? Last but not least, final. I'm gonna get off here. 2 hours. Fucking didn't make it off before 2 hours, but Geno Smith, and this is not a stat we all want to read. Geno Smith is 3-15 against playoff teams in his career. Geno's numbers and highlights are up against teams that are bottom barrel teams and below 500. Geno's biggest games in his career come against teams that are below 500. Geno Smith, again, against playoff teams, is 3-15. we play like 8 or 10 playoff teams this year. So, with that being said, keep that in mind. Look at that 12-5 predicted record, and then let me know what you think with that. But like I said, if those 5 things the Raiders can do, right? Those 5 things. Figure out who is the back 7 in front of that front. Figure out what's the pecking order. Who is going to start on our interior line. If Christian Wilkins is going to be healthy or not. What version of Chip Kelly do we get? The college version? The Super Bowl version? The losing version? And can Geno Smith be a difference maker? And if the answer is yes to even 3 of those 5 questions, I believe the Raiders make the playoffs this year. With that, I'm out. Much love. Appreciate y'all for rocking with your boy Raiders Rebel. Raiders. Peace. Yeah, I'm not reading any more chats. Much love. See y'all tomorrow. Damn, holy shit, that chat was deep. Fuck, Hawaiian Candy, what's good? Hold on, I'm staying. Lawrence, my guy, son of a bitch. I didn't know it was that. Trixie Blue, what's good? What's good? Shit. All right, I apologize. Dylan Lobby needs to learn how to fix Gatorade bottles. Lawrence, I love you. You're my guy. I hope you eat those words. I really do. I really do. For the nation, for Dylan Labe, I really hope you eat those words. But because that just means that the Raiders have one more. My 2 cents. Damn, what's good? Sorry, I was way behind in the chat. D Menace, long time no see. You're still alive. Holy shit. Jason Childress, I'm trying to get to all y'all. Fuck, I didn't know. Jonah, what's good? Damn it. Damn it. And that's everybody. So, man, I appreciate the ones that I didn't get to, the chat I didn't get to. We both watching Rebel. Wow, on FT. What? I don't know what that means. But yeah, so I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Pull up tomorrow. We will show whatever we can. Again, much love. Peace. I'm out.